Hello, Realtors. This is Tony Geraci, broker and owner of Century 21 Homestar, and today is Thursday, August 22nd, and I wanted to put the date in this video because I wanted you to know exactly, whenever you watch this, what date it is from the official August 16th, or was it 17th, official change across the country for our NAR rules and things that we have to do with buyer agreements and with listings and offers of compensation. So this is more of a public service announcement because I've been going door to door with going down we have over 550 agents with our office, and I'm going to as many as possible individually, one at a time, as many as I can to explain my take on what's happening and the changes of how people approach this, agents, buyers agents, listing agents. And being in a real estate veteran for over 30 years, I want you to hear this. And one of the things that are concerning, I've been prepping my listing agents that listen, as soon as that commission goes off the MLS, you're going to get buyers and buyers agents to call you. Are you still offering commission? Is the seller committing to a certain percentage? Are they asking you to promote a certain dollar amount verbally or through text, something? But the one thing that's been concerning just so quickly that there was agents, and I've talked to a few of them because some of my listing agents say, can you talk to this agent? That there's listing agents out there saying, I need, or the buyer's requesting the seller commit to a buyer's agent commission before the buyer will see the home or write an offer. I knew there would be maybe a few agents that would try to do this, but I'm seeing more of it. And actually, I'm hearing there's actual offices and companies promoting this. And I want to give you my opinion, my thoughts on this practice is please stop. Please stop. I had a conversation with two buyers agents this week that at other companies, because my agents asked me to step in and have a conversation with them. And the two buyers agents that were trying, one was saying, I'm not showing the property because my buyer's requesting me to see that property unless the seller commits to a dollar amount or a percentage. And the other one was, I saw the property, but we're not submitting an offer until the seller commits to. And they're both of them, of course, I said, as an agent, you're not supposed to do that. No, I'm doing it at the request of my buyer. My buyer doesn't want to see this house unless the seller pays a commission. My buyer doesn't want to write an offer on this house unless the seller pays. And then I went into training mode, and I explained to them what I'm about to say, and why you don't need to practice this. The whole point of these agents calling or not showing or not presenting an offer, obviously, if this is not 100% your buyer's request, that is minimal unethical to do. Secondly, if it's a buyer's request, my buyer does not want to see or put an offer on this house unless the seller pays a commission. Then I went to training mode, which I'm saying now. Do you understand your buyer could put that in writing in your buyer agreement so you never have to worry about this? What is your worry? And you know what they're both are worried. Again, I know I'm going to come across more of these, but just these two. Their worry is the buyers thought that if they saw the house or put an offer on the house, that there's some way the seller might or try to negotiate the buyer's commission out of the deal, and they would have to pay the buyer's agent out of their pocket, and they don't want to do or don't have the money to do. Did you hear me? That I'm seeing that, and I've been prepping our agents on how to make sure your buyer's comfortable knowing they could do anything, and they will 100% can make, if they choose to, make a seller pay our commission if they don't want to pay it out of pocket. And they don't have to worry about what house they see if the seller's offering a commission. They don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, I don't want to submit an offer on a house unless the seller commits to paying the buyer's agent before I submit an offer. It's as simple as this. And again, this is my opinion, my pseudo legal opinion. I'm not an attorney, but I kind of vetted this through our office attorney that buyers can do this. In your buyer agreement, before you see houses, a buyer can write in there their request. I, as a buyer, require any and all sellers to pay buyer's agent's commission. And the buyer could say to you at the time of buyer's agent, I don't ever want to buy a house or be stuck in a situation that I will have to come up with that extra money because I just don't or don't want to, whatever reason, want a seller. So in theory, you wiped away the fear of any seller trying to negotiate your commission out of the transaction. Did you hear me? You wiped away the fear of any seller trying to not pay you whatever you and your buyer agree that your compensation is. So when you present the offer, I suggest this. You call up the listing agent. Just let them know, hey, we saw your property. We're going to be presenting an offer. By the way, when I send this offer in, you could even ask, is your seller open to paying a commission or not? To me, my opinion, I don't care what that listing agent says. They could say, we're offering $1 million or we're offering nothing. I don't care. I'm submitting my offer. Doesn't matter to me because I already have an agreement with my buyer. By the way, listing agent, I'm sending it in. My buyer will be requesting the seller to pay my fees of this that we already agreed to. Want to make sure you understand that me and my buyer already have an agreement. The buyer will always, they have an agreement that the buyer requests the seller to pay. It's non-negotiable, non-negotiable. You know, and then some listing agents, I know are not going to get it because I've talked to some of my agents. Buyers can't do that. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. The buyer could say in the offer, this is non-negotiable, just like if the buyer needed closing costs to get their loan approved. Just like the buyer says, I don't have enough money to make repairs and I need these things done. It's non-negotiable. Buyers can do that. The buyers are in control. They could be in 100% control of never buying a house unless they find the house of the seller that will pay the buyer's agent's commission. They can do that. So you should have, so when you present that offer, hopefully you have a listing agent on the other side that respects that, understands that, and goes to their seller, said, hey, seller, no disrespect. I don't know where your mindset is in paying buyer's agents or not, but this is the buyer's offer. Let's see what the offer is. It might be the best offer out there. You might net the most money. It might be the best terms. This buyer might give you everything else you want, price, terms, everything, not ask for repairs, whatever. But they're asking for a buyer's agent commission, non-negotiable. What do you want to do, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? Then it's up to negotiation. If the buyer, and I would say to the listing agent, please make sure you go to the seller and explain what non-negotiable means and don't waste anybody's time. If you're going to send it back, the offer back with taking out something that's non-negotiable, it might waste everybody's time. The agent already said that. Just like, again, if you have a buyer that the lender says they need, I'm throwing out a number, 3% towards seller concessions to buyers' closing costs because they don't have all the funds that they need for closing costs and down payment, and they can't get their loan approved without paying seller concessions. Are you going to, as a listing agent, waste your time? Explain that to the sellers. Listen, if you say no closing costs, I'm not paying any closing costs, it's a waste of time. They already said the loan won't go through. It's dead in the water. a buyer could be that serious about your commission as a buyer's agent that the seller pays. So I'm going to say this again. Can a buyer require a seller to pay your commission? Yes. If the seller says no, they move on to the next house. Can a seller say, I 100% will never pay a buyer's agent? Yes, they can do that, but they can't have a buyer that wants you to. What we have to explain to both sides is we're getting ourselves in positions as agents that our fees and what we charge for our services are agreed to up front. And you can't, sorry, buyer and seller, you can't negotiate us out. You, as a seller, agreed on a listing agreement to pay your listing agent. Buyer, you agreed over here in your buyer agreement before you even seen any saw anyhow saw this house, this listing, saw this listing, and and how and who wanted to pay. And you're not negotiating our commission out. It's already agreed to. But when you put both parties together, they have to agree. If you have a buyer that says, I want a seller to pay, and a seller says, I'm not paying a buyer's agent, move on to the next house. I've been using this term. You can't have your cake and eat it too. I've been using that term to our listing agents. Tell the seller, well, if I have a seller that says, I don't want to pay a buyer's agent this or that or anything, and a buyer comes in and they ask for it, you in a nice way say, I know Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I want that buyer, but I don't want to pay that agent. You can't have your cake and eat it too. It's part of the negotiations. Buyer wants it. I don't want the buyer to have it. New buyer. Hey, buyer, new house. That's it. That's it. So many agents are focused on that. They think that every buyer and seller we're in negotiation and they have to agree on everything. And if they don't agree on commission that paid to a buyer's agent, that we as agents have to crumble and take out our commission. No. So buyer's agents, I'm going to say this before I close this video out, is that you as a buyer's agent have that agreement. You and the buyer agree to what your compensation will be. You and the buyer at the time of signing that buyer's agreement should at least try to or decide to who is going to pay you. You don't have to wait until the offer, you present offers. If that buyer says, I don't have the money to pay you, I don't want to pay you, great. Let's put it in the contract in our buyer agreement. Seller's paying, done. Move on. Go see any houses. Explain to listing agents, when I come in, it's non-negotiable. And I tell our listing agents, please, if you have a seller that's adamant about trying not to pay buyer's agents or have a certain percentage in their head and they don't want to pay over, you better show them all offers. Don't try to stop offers from coming in. If you're my listing agents, don't try to stop buyers from seeing it if they're asking for that. You bring them all, because I know for a fact, I know sellers don't sell their own properties every day. I mean, they just don't know. Every single time, I mean, if I had a nickel for every time had a seller sell their house and they do something they said at the beginning they wouldn't do, like, I'm not going to sell my house for less than this, and then they do. I'm not going to sell my house and pay buyers closing costs, and they do. And I'm not going to fix anything, and they do. And there's going to be sellers out there that start going, I'm not going to pay a buyer's agent, or I'm not going to pay more than this, and they will. You know why? Because it's better for them. It's better for them. And I think it's a disservice / unethical for us as agents, especially listing agents, to if a seller says, I don't want anybody coming into my house that thinks that I'm going to pay their buyer's agent, I'd walk away from that listing right away. That's because I don't think they're going to get the highest price and best price if they have that term. And I think it's 100% okay. Sorry if I ruffle some feathers here, for a seller and a listing agent to not make a determination at the time of listing of how much they're going to pay buyer's agents, because we don't know. Bring in your offers, ask for what you want. I think it's totally fine for a seller to go, I'm not too sure. I'm going to hold off and wait till the buyer's offers come in and they ask me to pay. And they might, and I'm telling you as buyer's agent, I hope you come in and say it's non-negotiable and you want this. So I'm pro buyer's agent. I'm pro listing and I'm pro everybody putting a price tag on their services or what they're worth, and everybody negotiate and making sure everybody gets what they want. The seller getting what they want, the buyer getting what they want, who's paying who, and you negotiate all that in. Everybody's happy. And no one's getting into a situation where someone's negotiating someone's commission out of the game. I don't like that at all. I think every buyer's agent should have that conversation with their buyer. Do you want someone else to pay, or do you want to negotiate it? If you don't write it into your contract, your buyer's agreement, saying that they 100% want sellers to pay when they buy a house, it might get negotiated. Don't let that happen to you. Explain to buyers. Explain to the situation as you can get it. Do you want me to tell a listing agent before we go into writing an offer that my commission is non-negotiable? Can they change that? Yes. But yeah, the buyer has that power. No need to keep calling the buyer, the listing agents, and request and require them to tell you how much money the seller will pay you when they don't even know you and they don't even know your offer, and you're not going to show the property or present an offer until you have that guarantee. And you blanket that because that's what your buyer wanted. Your buyer could do that in the contract. That's all I'm saying. So if you need me and you want discussion on this, I'm sorry, I'll ruffle some feathers out there. There's some managers and some companies and some people promoting this behavior. And I think it's a disservice to buyers and sellers. I think it's the wrong way to negotiate. And there's much better ways to handle this. So if you need my guidance or my opinions, call me, text me, or go on my calendar, tonytalk.net, tonytalk.net. Go to my calendar, put it in there, put in the comments of what you want to talk about. So I'm ready, and I'm happy to help you. I want to get the word out there. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I wish everybody the best of success and with the changes. And I know these are all great. I'm so happy for them. I know that we're going to get used to them, but everybody will be better off because of them. Thank you. Bye-bye.